Ladies and gentlemen, the day has arrived. The day we've been talking about all year long. Welcome everyone to the MVWF's ManchMania pre-show. I am Damian Andrews here, ready to run down the card for you here tonight. One of the biggest shows, if not the biggest show of the year. It is the last show of the year. Depending upon your favorite is, I guess, your measurement for how big it is. But boy, what a lineup do we have here. Some very personal issues are going to get settled here tonight. That's right, folks. Tonight, we have in our opening match the AJ the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. We also have Kyle Empire going one-on-one with Hector from the Spruce Street Butchers, a big grudge match there. And in the first portion of our show, the MVWF World's Tag Team Championship will be defended on a very rare occasion here, inviting old, Jim Crockett Promotions legends and WWE Hall of Fame tag team, the Rock and Roll Express of Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson. That's right. You heard it here, folks. Okay, pardon the interruption there. Just thought I smelled something burning in my apartment. Not quite sure what it was. We have some pizza here. That being said, we have so many more matches. By the way, inside the participating in the AJ the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, Keith Munson, Monster Munson, returns to the MVWF, as well as Dennis the Hitman Hart, Grop the Caveman, the Destroyer, Nick Jackson, Stan and Reggie from the Spruce Street Butchers, and surprise entrants Shaggy, Too Dope, and Violent J, the Insane Clown Posse. And of course, Kyle Empire and Hector in the first one-on-one match of the show had a tremendous run, the both of them, in the B1 Climax Tournament. For remarkably different reasons, however, Kyle Empire managing to secure himself 3 straight main events. In spite of some very devastating losses, Kyle's quality of match went through the roof. And of course, Hector from the Spruce Street Butchers, well, he had quite the notorious run where he had some of the most brutal matches during the tournament and was notable for pile driving a points leader at the time and current MVWF champion G-Man Ryan Crawford off of the ring apron with a pile driver, drastically changing the direction of how that A block was going to turn out for the rest of the tournament. And of course, in the second portion of our show, we're going to have an intermission in between there and this match here, but the very erstwhile Adrian Knight, of course, we just want to send a shout out to Adrian Knight, who volunteered to be part of the MVWF about the first third of the season. He is not one of my circle of friends who was involved in this, but asked to be part of the MVWF, was allowed to do so, and had quite the notable year for a rookie here. Actually had a tie score in the A block of the B1 Climax Tournament with AJ the Giant, but only because he had dropped a fall to AJ earlier in the tournament was he not eligible to go on to the finals of the B1 Climax Tournament. Of course, that was a tremendous blow, but Adrian Knight, if you are listening and you're still watching, you are more than welcome that once this season ends and we move on to 2K19 to remake your guy, and I will download him off of Community Creations and stuff so that you can continue your career here in the MVWF. Hit me up and let me know. Of course, we have so many more matches going on here. Just before we move on here, though, Adrian Knight, of course, is in a tremendously vulnerable position here because he's taken some serious losses. He lost in his match versus WWE show. He lost in his rematch with AJ the Giant. He's had some tough times in the tag team division, teaming with his, I guess, sometime partner now, Kyle Empire. But he's looking to rally against a guy who's possibly the worst person to be facing if this is the kind of situation you're in your career, and that would be the Skinny Wolf, a spoiler, the perennial spoiler in the MVWF, who ruins careers. And just ask guys like Brent Diesel, just ask Bret the Hitman Hart when he came back and became MVWF champion several years ago back in Phase 1. So many notorious victims. Of course, his blood feud with Ron Awesome that never really seemed to catch traction here this year. But Andy had a pretty rough go of it at the beginning of the B1 Climax tournament. But that being said, later on in the tournament, he started to rally, and he really ruined some things for some guys who had the upswing going for them. And of course, he aims to do that again here against Adrian Knight. And you want to talk about two guys from different eras with parallel careers right now. Kid Christian, with his current winning record of, was it 3-2, 3-1, 4-1, something like that, as of recently. He is basically challenging here for the title of biggest upset king in the current MVWF. And of course, Little Bitch Ass is no slouch in that department. He is continually, well, he's picked up right where he left off in Phase 1 of the MVWF, here in Phase 2, as scoring some tremendous upsets throughout the year against opponents whom he had no business beating. But of course, he did not get out of the first round of the World Championship tournament towards the beginning of the year. But he continued to kind of like middle along and kind of tease that he was going to go back into the tag team division with Ron Awesome. But that never seemed to materialize either. And he had a big victory, probably his biggest victory of his career, over Rock Holly. Now keep in mind, Rock Holly and Little Bitch Ass did face each other back in the day when if you did lose to Little Bitch Ass, it meant your career was over. Of course, we're way, way past that now, and now Little Bitch Ass manages to find himself on the winning side against some very stiff competition throughout the year, and he had an impressive year altogether if you really look at it, but never quite breaking that glass ceiling into the championship main event scene, although many had said that he most certainly deserved, considering that he had been on like a 4 or 5 match winning streak at one point, as was parallel to him and Ron Supreme. But that being said, Little Bitch Ass, being the upset king, is now being challenged by a guy who says he's the upset king in Kid Christian. So, moving along to the late afternoon portion of the show, MC Honky Lips had laid down a challenge to Adrian Knight that ended up being canceled because he was attacked from behind by Doyle Jesse Doyle, his brother, who, as far as we know, had been let go from the MVWF, but ran in and still managed to keep himself in the conversation. Jesse is a survivor, you gotta give him that. And of course, this dials all the way back to the very last ManchMania, whereas in 2007, 2008, somewhere in there, it was the last show of the Phase 1 series, and MC Honky Lips was cohabitating at his apartment with Doyle Jesse Doyle, and had not been booked on the show, when Jesse laid down the challenge to a tag team match where Brandon Bones was going to have a mystery opponent, which turned out to be MC Honky Lips, betrayed at ManchMania by the Puppet Master himself and his own brother. They defeated Jesse and his tag team partner, whoever the fuck that was, back in the day, and pulled the rug out from underneath him. Never really got his chance to get his comeuppance either during that ManchMania match or in the one match that he managed to get against Brandon Bones in the B1 Climax tournament. Came up short there as well. Now looking for revenge against MC Honky Lips. And also a big match number 7 on the card is what we're calling the CTE Scramble match. You'll find out what that means later on when Ron Awesome and Ron Supreme, his brother from the future with the Terminator arm, will go one-on-one here in an anything-goes match where falls count anywhere. However, this is the rematch from the very first ManchMania, going all the way back to the year 2000. And in our semi-main event, one of two semi-main events, At the last event, you saw a very surprising, very surprising appearance from the biggest draw on pay-per-view in the UFC, the notorious Conor McGregor challenging Enormous Genitals Kevin Welch inside a steel cage under UFC rules. Of course, Kevin Welch, a big Conor McGregor fan, having his heart broken in this challenge coming down from the fellow Irishman. And he finds himself in the vulnerable position of whether winning means his heart breaks, and of course losing means his heart breaks. Tough day ahead for Kevin Welch. And in our other semi-main event, keep your eye on AJ the Giant. Laid down the challenge to Rock Holly. Of course, they fought each other in the finals of the MVWF World's Heavyweight Championship Tournament. Rock Holly defeating AJ. And of course, AJ came back to defeat Rock Holly in the finals of the A block at the B1 Climax Tournament. And of course, they have clashed since then. Like in the Elimination Chamber, they've clashed. They've had a tremendous rivalry thus far. And of course, the last time I believe they fought, AJ was also victorious. And now he laid down the challenge that when Rock Holly, the winner of the 30-man over-the-top rope Royal Rumble, faced Brandon Bones in the number 1 contendership that he earned from winning the March for Death, in which he also defeated Rock Holly. They faced off, and Brandon Bones squashed Rock Holly, while AJ said, though he would challenge either of the winner or either whoever was the winner of the match, but specifically wanted Rock Holly and was supporting Brandon Bones in his bid for this number 1 contendership because he felt like he had the most to prove against Rock Holly. And of course, AJ the Giant turning coat on Brandon Bones and the MVWF Old Guard and full-throatedly joining the new generation by stepping in as a partner with Kevin Welch and Ryan Crawford inside the Elimination Chamber that in the War Games match that was unfortunately canceled because of stupidity, which we will no longer talk about. But of course, AJ the Giant, really the center of so much controversy, any direction he could go in right now. It is really unsure as far as what the future is going to lay for AJ the Giant. And of course, that might become more clear if he's able to defeat Rock Holly here tonight. And of course, Rock Holly has scratched and clawed his way throughout the year, of course, having one of the top 5 best championship reigns in either Phase 1 or Phase 2 history at the beginning of the season here. Rock Holly, you've got to tip your hat, as it would be hard to argue against anyone making an argument that Rock Holly is our hands-down wrestler of the year. I would defy anyone to step forward and say that there was anyone else who deserves that accolade. And finally, oh, by the way, the AJ the Giant match with Rock Holly is an I Quit match. 2 out of 3 falls. AJ the Giant, who has of late been utilizing a tremendously powerful Giant's bear hug. And Rock Holly, of course, the current best user of the figure 4 leg lock in all professional wrestling. Now they have to make each other quit, not once, but twice. And the 10th match of the night is our main event. Probably the hottest feud of the year. So many controversial comments made on the recent MVWF podcast that I hosted with G-Man Ryan Crawford, the MVWF World's Heavyweight Champion, who is defending his belt against the MVWF owner and manager of the VWA and number 1 contender and former MVWF champion, now getting his championship rematch after losing it to the G-Man several weeks ago. And now this blood feud, the talking, is done. The fighting has begun, and you know that there is only one way to finally put the kibosh on all of this, and that is going to be an MVWF style Iron Man match known as the Iron Brawl. That's right, folks. Half-hour time limit. He who has the most points and most falls at the end of that 30 minutes will be awarded and declared the undisputed MVWF World's Heavyweight Champion. And of course, we had one of these matches earlier this year, the phenomenal main event between G-Man Ryan Crawford, where he first won the MVWF Championship from Rock Holly, ending that top 5 of all time heavyweight championship reign. And folks, I cannot stress to you enough the amount of high stakes that are being applied to this match, because it gets even deeper and it involves AJ the Giant, where not only is the championship on the line here tonight, but also Brandon Bone's stake as head booker of the MVWF matches. That's right. If he loses, Ryan Crawford will have won the succession of power from Brandon Bones to AJ the Giant. And you've got to know that if AJ the Giant manages to defeat Rock Holly, and if Ryan Crawford manages to defeat Brandon Bones, it is entirely possible that he leap in with both feet, an abuse of power, or a well-deserved, self-awarded World's Heavyweight Championship match to start Season 2. Are you kidding me? Now, we shall see about all of the results here. We are looking forward here tonight. We are just a few moments away from the beginning of MVWF ManchMania. Well, we're going to call it 1, because this Phase 1 has basically been a reboot, folks. I am Damian Andrews. Thank you for joining me here on the pre-show. We will see you at ManchMania.